Hello, Gemini, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs. Welcome to your tarot reading. We're going to talk about love, romance, relationships, dating, things of that nature. Please come into the reading with an open heart and an open mind, a desire to learn something or better yourself. If the messages that come through don't resonate for you, that's totally fine. Feel free to push them aside. You may want to revisit them at a later date. You are accountable and responsible for all your own actions and decisions. This is, of course, optional advice and guidance. That being said, let's set the intention to get you some helpful, insightful messages regarding your dating life. All right. I see good things coming in with an Aquarius, for those who are wondering. All right, so bottom of your deck is the Ace of Wands. All right, so let's see. I'm going to start in the middle here. I'm using the Harley Spencer Badass Tarot, so the images are kind of, kooky and crazy, but, we'll take it with a grain of salt. Let's get you some messages here. So starting off with the Six of Cups, so something kind of cute that develops more passionately and sexually over time. And then let's see, the Ace of Swords. Let's see. So for some of you, there's just a really simple message of feeling confident and able to ask for what you really want in context of a romantic relationship. For some of you, that has a lot to do more with like intimacy stuff and like what what lights your fire in the bedroom, so to say, and kind of what you would want to ask your partner for, but maybe have been shy or timid to, or maybe afraid of like their own judgment. For some of you, you're just entering into sort of a more comfortable phase of this relationship where you're not muting your voice. And not that you ever should have to, but I get it. Like at first you're kind of feeling the other person out and getting to know them and, seeing what they like, what they don't like, etc. So there is some sort of conversation that has to do with being more intimate. And for some of you, it might just be sort of that discussion of, acting on more like sexual impulses and stuff. Not that it has to be like a conversation, way to take all the romance out of it, right? But for some of you, that Ace of Swords may indicate just sort of that new chapter of like, that's kind of part of the narrative that we're creating now. It's, it's more intimate. All right. For others of you, this is a funny message too. There's like this sexual tension with a person who might be a friend or a coworker, and it's like you fight a lot, but it's very like it's charged with this sort of sexual energy. So there's a lot of like, oh my God, they're such an idiot and I can't stand them, but you're also like weirdly and strangely attracted to them. I don't mean weirdly in like a judgmental way, but it's one of those like, God, they know how to get under my skin and like they push your buttons, but there's also something here where you guys, I don't know, there's the potential for that to turn romantic, or if it hasn't already. This could also be a relationship, especially with a coworker or someone you see in a more kind of formal professional setting where it isn't necessarily appropriate for it to be known that you guys have already like slept together or have been kind of dating or seeing each other. And so when you're with them, it's almost like you have to hide that sort of facet of the relationship, but there is kind of like this simmering tension underneath, if that makes sense for any of you. Let's see. So Scorpio season, it looks like there could be more fights or arguments in a relationship. But the Ace of Swords says, hey, communication is an option. So if you're willing to lean into that, there can be peaceful resolution. For some of you, there might be a breakup in Scorpio season as well, but it doesn't have to be. To be honest, I don't see that for the majority of you. That's a minority. There could be a very strong connection with an air sign that it grows stronger is what I'm going to say with the Strength sign. Also, that is a card of Leo. So there might be some Leo energy around you, especially a Leo from your past. Someone who you knew from your childhood may come back into the equation, or you may have had a friend or someone kind of in the periphery of your life. Again, very strong Leo or Scorpio vibes, who actually comes forward to be like, hey, like I'm kind of into you. And so with that information, like newly uncovered information about someone who's maybe always sort of harbored these romantic ideas about you, you're kind of like, all right, well, this opens up my world a bit. It's like there's sort of some, like, I need to figure out what I want to do with this information. But for some of you, it might be a little bit shocking. Others of you, it's almost like you don't know what to do with it. I sort of get the idea of someone asks you out and you don't want to, but you don't know how to handle it. And it feels very like pushed into a corner and feeling like you have to give an answer on the spot. And you never have to do that, guys, right? I think that's all about sort of like your mindset. you don't owe anybody anything, really. So just because they ask you out doesn't mean you have to give them an answer on the spot, or that you even have to entertain going out with them if that's not something you want. And there's several different storylines coming through here, so this isn't all going to be attributed to the same person. But yeah, for Ten of Swords, some of you, it's like you feel pushed into a corner to do something that you don't want to do. And that may have to do with, for those who are already partnered up or getting more intimate in a partnership, your partner may sort of bring up the discussion of something that like really turns them on. It could be something that's like kind of kinky or kind of, outside of the box. And again, there's like this sort of like, I'm going to have to like get comfortable with the idea of that before we move forward with that. So just putting it out there, there may be discussions and topics that come up that aren't necessarily your comfort zone, but that doesn't mean you have to shy away from them. Or again, it doesn't mean you have to just jump right in. You can sort of dip your toe in the water. You can get comfortable with it, or you can, you absolutely have the right to say no, right? No is a full sentence. I don't see anyone putting you, I just heard nobody puts baby in a corner. That's funny. I don't mean that literally, guys. My brain. I do feel like maybe your defenses are up a little bit, or you feel sort of pushed into a corner to make a decision, but I don't necessarily think it's actually in like a super aggressive way by a partner. Like I don't see it as that. I see it more as, kind of that classic kind of Gemini and energy of kind of reverting to living up in your head because you're sort of in panic mode and you're sort of losing touch with like your body and the emotions, and being able to fully process it as like a whole piece of information, not just this like back and forth in your brain of, oh my God, well, they said this, and what if I don't want to do it, but what if I do and I don't like it? And like it becomes sort of this like loop of a narrative inside your head that it doesn't have to do that. It doesn't have to be that way. Ask for time. Ask for time to process it and think about it so you can give them an answer that is true to what you really want. Because for some of you, you may be cutting off an option too soon, or again, something that your person proposes to you if it's going on. Maybe it's going on like a little trip or a weekend getaway, and maybe you don't know them super well and you're a little hesitant. Obviously, you need to trust your intuition above all else and use your best judgment. You need to be safe and take precautions, right? If this is a new person, obviously, don't do anything too crazy. But I do get the impression that some of you may be cutting off an option too soon or rejecting an idea that could actually be really good for you. It could actually be very enjoyable and exciting and fruitful, and some sort of opportunity comes about possibly unexpectedly with Aquarian energy where your mind is telling you, no, don't do it. This is bad. It's not going to be good. Like danger, red flags or whatever. But I don't know if that's necessarily true. And I'm saying that because of sort of the cards surrounding it. It's like, I think this person really likes you and wants to treat you well. But it might just be sort of some personal baggage that you have, and everybody does, where it's sort of influencing in a negative way your ability to make a decision or about sort of this person, from a fresh perspective, right? It's a new person, so don't hold them accountable for all the past mistakes that your ex made or that you made, or do you know what I mean? Like, treat this as fresh and untainted. It's not guilty until proven innocent. It should be the opposite, right? I think that's what I'm trying to say, more or less. For some of you, I feel like you might be celebrating an anniversary of like many, many years together, especially if you got together with someone when you were very young. I'm sort of getting the idea of like high school sweethearts, or even like, this is super old school, I'm getting like Leave It to Beaver type, you grew up next to each other, like boy next door, girl next door type vibes. And it's like you're celebrating some sort of milestone in a relationship you've been together for a while. And it doesn't have to be, 50, 60 years. For some of you, it might be, but that's not generally my target audience, so I'm going to be realistic. That could be someone in your life, too. Your parents could be celebrating a really long-term milestone anniversary. And maybe some of you sort of aspire to have that in your life, too, of really wanting to find, like, the one and being committed for life. Some of you, it's like, don't rush the timeline. Don't... and I hate saying don't, because I never like to tell you what to do in tarot readings. You have, agency and choice. But I feel like some of you are trying to mirror the relationship that your parents have, but in a way, again, you're closing yourself off to like your fate and your destiny of your own individual path and being your own person. So it's great to have goals and wishes for the future. I'm not at all taking that away from you or saying, you need to change your plan or your course of action. But I do think, again, Aquarian energy, it's like we need to be more open-minded than, what we've seen in our childhood isn't necessarily going to be our narrative. And for some of you, that's relieving, because it could be that you to, complete opposite end of the spectrum. You come from a household or a family that, had a broken marriage or divorce or, some sort of like, toxic relationships, abuse, anything like that, where you're like, I never want that. And so with that, you might be a little bit apprehensive to commit long term or to be in a relationship that requires more of you. And so, yeah, what I'm saying is like there's a chance for you to write your own story here. So don't feel like someone has already written it for you, that you're going to end up the same way your mother did or that your father did or this or that. There's a lot of sort of like unforeseens here, but in a pleasant way. Like I think I'm sort of getting the idea of like it's better than you're anticipating. So be open to that. Open-mindedness is really important here. All right, let's see. Some of you, a friend is gonna call you up and tell you that they're engaged, and it might be someone that you went to high school with, or again, like childhood friend groups. A good friend of yours may actually end up with someone that like you all knew when you were young, if that transpires or resonates for anyone rather. And again, it's kind of shocking. You're like, oh my God, you're kidding me. I didn't even know you guys were dating. How did you meet? Like, that may involve a Leo too in some capacity, or an Aquarius. It might be another Gemini. Some of you feel like you're losing a friend because of that, though. There's almost this, and it's not literal, it's more symbolic or emotional. It's like, I feel like you and a very good friend of yours saw it was like us against the world. It's like we're in this together, and maybe you guys have been privy to each other's dating life and relationships, and now that someone is like married or engaged or something to do with that, it feels like a blow to you. It feels a little, it's not that you're not happy for them, it's not jealousy, I want to be clear about that. It's almost like saying goodbye to something because the relationship has changed and transformed. So very indicative of like Scorpio season, like endings and new beginnings, transforming things from past into the present. I feel like I'm not communicating well today. I keep getting tongue-tied is what I'm trying to say. And for some of you, it feels like you're a little, I don't think you're vocalizing this, and probably rightfully so. It feels like you one of your very good friends, or even a cousin, someone you're tremendously close with and rooting for. You've been like a cheerleader for them and vice versa. It's a very strong connection. Because they're entering into a new phase or chapter in their romantic life, or I shouldn't say because, you almost feel as if they're trading in their dreams. It's like they had a vision or a dream for something that they wanted, and they were sticking to their guns, and then they met this person and they completely changed their mind or going against what they always said they were going to do. And so there's almost like this, it's not like, a traitor energy. It's more just like you feel worried that they're settling. That's a really good way of putting it. I don't know if that's necessarily true or not. I mean, ultimately, this does feel like an external relationship to you. So yes, you are affected in that your relationship with your best friend may change a little bit. It could also be that you're not terribly fond of the person that they've ended up with. So that may put like a little bit of a block or a distance there. Again, by choice though. I mean, really, I don't think sort of your disapproval of their lifestyle of this person is necessarily a conversation you're having. And again, I don't necessarily think it's something you need to express, because from what I'm seeing, it's not necessarily any of your business, even if you are looking out for the best interest of your friend. Obviously, you need to interject or intervene if there's like abuse or something, more heavy going on than just like, yeah, I just don't really like their person. They're kind of annoying, right? Some of you just feel like I'm sort of getting the idea of like Stepford wives. Like we always dreamed of being these, badass, independent women and this and that. And we're not going to get married till we're in our 50s and this. And then it's like your person get engaged and you're like, what about our plans? Like, you're the Thelma to my Louise. It's like there's this, you traded in marriage for what we were going to do. I don't know. And for some of you, there may even be sort of an indication of a relationship where and this obviously isn't for everyone, right? You may have even had sort of like a crush on a best friend, and it wasn't necessarily a possibility because this person wasn't interested in you that way. But again, when they're officially like taken off the market, so to say, it's like that reality of, oh yeah, we were never going to be like romantically linked. That really sets in for you in it. And there is kind of this moment of contemplation of like, I'm not saying this is true, but part of you are sort of having this moment of like, why isn't my life on course? And, everything's happening for everyone else, and I'm never in the right spot, the right time. And you kind of sink into this, again, like Ten of Swords, like thoughts out of control, but they aren't necessarily rooted or grounded in reality. I don't see this as jealousy, though. I see this as you wanting to support your person, but again, feeling like they're not getting what they fully deserve or settling. And if that doesn't resonate for you, that could be how a friend of yours is feeling about your relationship and maybe not expressing that to you. I don't know why that's coming through, because to me, it's all very unspoken right now. So I'm not sure why that's helpful or why it's coming through. In fact, let's ask about that, because it has to do with this Two of Wands over there. Selling out on someone's dream, I think part of you is like, oh, well, maybe they're doing it right and I'm doing it wrong. That's not true. You need to stick to your guns in terms of what you want. Again, be open-minded, be realistic, but you don't have to sacrifice your dreams even if someone else did. Again, your path is different, so you may as well embrace that and own it and not look at it as a burden or a curse, but look at it as the opposite. It's like your fate, your destiny. It's like a good fortune that you have, that you don't necessarily subscribe to the same patterns and behaviors that other people do. The Four of Relationships. Yeah, you're doing just fine. This is so sexual. I feel like I'm going to get in trouble for using this deck. I'm just going to cover that up real quick. Yeah, there's strong energy with another air sign here, particularly in Aquarius. I really like the vibes and the energy there too. And there's something very untraditional. There's something very unique about this relationship. And other people might not understand it. And it's not up to them to try and understand it or figure it out or figure you out. You have to know who you are and own it and love it and not apologize for it. Don't seek validation in other people. Because it's not worth it. Again, there's this some of you might quite literally be writing a book or a diary or a journal or an article, I keep getting this metaphor of like, you're writing your own narrative and it may come way out of left field where it goes. You're moving away from the idea of people pleasing, or again, all my relationships have been this way, so they're always going to. That's not true. There's definitely a lot of unexpected twists and turns in a relationship that's either here now or that's coming in. And I think you're really going to enjoy it. I'm hearing the word satisfying, and that's double down on that with this Four of Pentacles that I'm going to cover up because it's very sexual. And I'm not a prude. I don't want the video to get taken down on YouTube. So expand out of your comfort zone, out of your normal territory. And for some of you, that's literally a message to you about your dating app profile. Some of you, it's like you have a very small network or territory you're willing to stick within, and that's fine. I understand it, but are you going to cut a person out of your life simply because they live an extra 25 miles away? Like, have a Zoom date, have a coffee date, online, get to know them in other ways where, if travel is an issue, maybe you can't see them every weekend, but a lot of times I feel like those are gifts from the universe that we love to fight against and struggle with. And sometimes it's just like the universe has your best interest in mind. They're trying to set you up for success. So when you're given obstacles, rather than trying to bust through them or like beat your brain silly trying to come up with solutions, sometimes it's just about acceptance. Like, okay, I'm not going to see you for 2 weeks, and I'm still going to be able to text you. And again, we can hop on like a Zoom call and whatever, but okay, like it is what it is. And again, acceptance with that. Yeah, there might be a person, especially a Leo or a Scorpio, who's recently out of a long-term relationship or some relationship, but this doesn't have to be long-term, where unexpectedly they reach out to you and again want to ask you out or propose meeting up or being in some sort of like romantic union or something like that. A lot of unexpected energy here. So a lot of curveballs, I feel like, in your romantic life in the few coming months. But it looks exciting to me. Some of you may be getting comments or critiques from friends about your relationship. And again, if you're happy and satisfied and it's a respectful relationship, like, pay no mind. It's coming from a place where they just don't understand it. Again, I don't even think they're trying to be hypercritical of you, or it doesn't come from a place of jealousy. It comes from a place of concern. But you know what's right for you. And so there needs to just to be peace of mind, and let those other comments, the riffraff, just kind of like float on by, like shake it right off. And in a way, it's almost like I think you're going to feel bad or like pity this person because they are so narrow minded and they just don't, they think that there's a certain way of doing things and living life. And it's just like, oh, that's too bad that they don't know any better. Like I'm always getting it's like, oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. I actually really like that. It feels very empowered and like owning your choices and being confident and shining your light, even if it makes other people uncomfortable. For some of you, there may even be sort of this transition of coming out as bisexual or owning this idea that, you know what, I'm interested in this gender now. And I don't even think it's this big announcement or topic of conversation. It's just like, introducing mom or dad to your new boyfriend or girlfriend, and it's a sex or a gender or whatever that you've never dated before. And so it's interesting because I actually, even though your better instincts are like, oh, I should probably give, mom or dad a heads up so they don't make a thing of this, or, so they're not caught off guard. I think some of you are going to be like, you know what, F it. I'm not even going to tell them. I'm just going to bring this person home because that they're not going to address it like in front of you. Like they're going to play like, pretend like everything is good and fine and welcome to our happy home. And then they're going to text you and call you later and be like, what? But I'm only laughing because it's showing that you're becoming more and more comfortable in your skin and owning who you are in love and dating and relationships. I like this, Gemini. I'm liking the Aquarian vibes too. I feel like there's back and forth with a Scorpio, but again, it hasn't fully come to realization yet what it is or what this person wants or what your future looks like together. For some of you, I think you enjoy the company, but you're better off being single because there's something about the Scorpio that it has tower vibes attached to it. So it could be that this person actually struggles with mental health issues, and so you don't necessarily want to become necessarily responsible for that by entering into a partnership with them. And I know that's a very dumbed down way of looking at it. I don't mean to offend or insult anyone, but it's almost like that they need some time to figure out some stuff and get to a healthy spot before they're ready to enter into a relationship wholly and fully and not have those triggers or those spikes and sort of like I'm getting sort of like emotionally, it can be all over the place with them, and you want them to get grounded before you guys are exclusive or dating or acting on your desires with them. All right, guys, that's what I got for you. Please remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel, book a personal reading. I will see you very soon for more tarot. Bye, Gemini.